Mr. Speaker, it's day 15 of this emergency sitting. For 3 days, I've been raising concerns about children for whom the government is a guardian who've not been going to school. It is a big problem that the NDP refuses to admit exists. Now, the Minister of Family Services recently mentioned that she's now negotiating service purchase agreements with group homes for funding provision. She mentioned BNL Homes as an example. I asked the Minister of Family Services, what standards and mechanisms are set out in these service purchase agreements to ensure that kids are going to school?
I appreciate the question. This question of children attending school is an important one, which is why we've put additional resources in place, which is why when we have service purchase agreements that it's understood that children are supposed to do as well as possible in school and get the supports necessary. Those supports include people working in the group home, working with the child. They include social workers working with the child. They include alternative program arrangements made with the specific school division in question. We've put in resources in place through the education budget to allow people to stay in school till 18 with proper supports, and we will continue to do that, Mr. Speaker. We have Brighter Futures program money, which has kept kids in school and helped them succeed. We have a Pathfinders program, which is a national program, which has over 200 children from at-risk neighborhoods with tutoring, additional supports after school, opportunity to earn some income during the summers, and an ability to get access to education resources 12 months of the year. Those kinds of supports are making a big difference for young children, including children in care, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, the question is there a requirement in the service purchase agreement that every child actually has to go to school, and is there a report as to whether they're doing that? Does the government actually know?
No, they don't.
One of the reasons, apparently, that children are having trouble going to school is that schools are finding it challenging to accept children from CFS group homes. They're finding it too difficult sometimes to manage with their available resources. Now, the Public Schools Act requires that there's a plan and resources for every special needs child.
But you don't care.
Given the apparent resistance to having kids from CFS group homes in some schools, what is this Minister of Education's plan to ensure that all kids in CFS have the appropriate education plans in place and will be attending school this fall?
Speaker, the Minister of Education placed in her budget over $1 million for learning to age 18 coordinators, which are available in various school divisions. She also has special resources in her budget to help with school attendance and school completion in specific high schools around the province of Manitoba. And we work very closely with our school divisions, and each school division works very closely with the children and the families in their neighborhoods to ensure children are attending school, to ensure that when they're attending school, they get appropriate level of attention. Members opposite voted against our initiative to reduce class size from down to 20 for K-3 students. That class size initiative has made a big difference in the K-3 period. Members opposite voted against it, including the leader of the Liberal Party, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, it's not rocket science. The question is, are these kids going to school or not? The answer is they're not. That's the problem. The government is a guardian, but they're not going to school.
They don't care.
So ask the Premier,
They don't care.
has he got a plan to ensure that all service purchase agreements, all regulations, all planning in relation to group homes actually work to ensure that every school-aged child is receiving the education they deserve so they have a chance to succeed?
Mr. Speaker, all children under the age of 18 are required under our provincial legislation to be in attendance at school and to remain in school. That applies to any caregiver in the province of Manitoba, whether it's a child and family service agency, whether it's a group home nonprofit organization that we fund, whether it's a family, whether it's a child who's living in other arrangements. All children are required to go to school, and we've empowered school divisions with additional resources to provide the supports for them to be there. Social workers, people that work in group homes, learning to 18 coordinators, resource teachers, classroom teachers, guardians and parents all have a responsibility to ensure that child is in school till 18 and gets an education appropriate to their needs and their interests, Mr. Speaker. We put in place the K-3 initiative to reduce class sizes. educational evidence supported that that gets better outcomes for young children. We have an early childhood development commitment in this budget and a Department of Children and Youth that works with young mothers from a prenatal period in terms of benefits, home visits, and additional supports. All of those supports have
Order, please.
increased
First Minister's time has expired.